But here's what that inner voice is not. It is not your pain. It is not your past. It is not your doubt. It is not your guilt. It is not that voice that is telling you to stay small and to shrink yourself to fit into a box and stay quiet. Welcome to the Lyssn podcast, your space to tune out the noise and tune in to the wisdom that already lives inside you. I'm Alyssa, and through soulful conversations and grounded reflections, we explore what it means to live your bliss, to walk through life aligned, intuitive, embodied, and lit up from within. Because the answers you're seeking, well, you already hold them. The real question is, do you have the courage to listen? Hello listeners, and welcome back to the Lyssn podcast. My name is Alyssa, but you can just call me Lyss. And in today's episode, I want you to reclaim your inner voice. I want this to be a soft landing back into your inner truth and a remembering of who you really are at your very core. So before we dive in, I actually want us to all land here together in presence. So if you're driving, please don't shut down your eyes. You can definitely follow us with the breath. And if you're not, what I want you to do is just close down your eyes, put one hand on your heart space and one hand on your belly or your womb space if you have one. And I want you to take a deep, intentional, conscious breath in through the nose. Inhale and exhale through the mouth. Beautiful. Landing here together. Arriving not just to this episode, but to a deeper part of yourself that I think oftentimes we will silence or tiptoe around or question a lot. And that's a very human thing for us to do because society has definitely taught us that we shouldn't trust our inner voice. We shouldn't trust that intuition. And that inner knowing isn't as knowledgeable as external sources of information. But I want to talk about that voice inside you. That inner voice that only you can hear, and some of you may hear it, some of you may just feel it. It's that inner knowing that so many of us ignore. Everyone has different names for it, right? So some people will call it their inner wisdom, other people will call it a higher power like Christ consciousness or the Holy Spirit, God. And then in other religions, you've got Atman, Buddha nature, the still small voice, the beloved within. In indigenous traditions, it might be called the Great Spirit or the ancestral wisdom flowing through the earth, through the land, and through the body. Or in like modern mysticism, new agey kind of way, it could be source energy or the universe or spirit. You might call it your conscience or your inner child or your guardian angel or even your higher self. Or maybe you want to call it a flying unicorn in the sky who farts rainbows. Honestly, I don't care what you call it. It doesn't matter what name you give it because universal energy, God essence, truth doesn't necessarily need a name as long as you can feel it. Because truth doesn't really speak one language. It speaks in energy. It speaks in vibration. It speaks in resonance. And you can tap into that energy through stillness and remembrance and reclaiming that inner voice. But here's what that inner voice is not. It is not your pain. It is not your past. It is not your doubt. It is not your guilt. It is not that voice that is telling you to stay small and to shrink yourself to fit into a box and stay quiet. Most of us have actually spent a lifetime confusing that voice with something else. With logic, fear, guilt, doubt. It is not the internalized voice that you have created based on the things that you have been taught to believe, rather than questioning what it is that you truly do believe. It is not the internalized rules of a world that told us who we should be, instead of encouraging us to really understand and remember who we actually are at our core. That's your programming. That's your ego. That's the part of you that's trying to stay in control and safe and accepted. And it's also not the voice of your parents, or your mum or your dad or your grandparents or any other parental or authority figure in your life. It's not your teacher or your mentor or your boss or your pastor or your religious leader. It is not that voice in your mind telling you to be a good girl or a good boy, or we don't do things like that, or don't disappoint us, or that's not how we operate in our family. That voice is your conditioning. It is the echo of authority figures, cultural traditions, family systems, societal and religious structures that told you who to be before you ever got the chance to ask yourself who you really are. I know that I grew up with a very guilty conscience, and I constantly had my female authority figures in my life, their voices in my head, which was shaped by years of obedience and being told that I was a good girl and that I had done the right thing, and that if I did the right thing, I would be rewarded. This dissonance comes from values and belief systems that you've inherited, but probably never consciously actually chose for yourself. And a lot of us get to our teenage years and adulthood and start questioning, what is it that I truly believe? Who is it that I even am? Because we've absorbed these beliefs not because of the fact that we actually chose them, but because they kept us safe and accepted and chosen by others, rather than choosing the things that really resonated with our soul. But just because something is familiar doesn't mean it's actually aligned with you. And a lot of people are walking around thinking that they have a certain belief system because that's how they grew up, or because that's what their family did, or because that's just how their friends are, and haven't really truly questioned why it doesn't quite feel like it sits right in their heart, in their mind, in their body, in their soul, and their spirit. So I want to make one thing very clear. You are not your thoughts. You are not your mistakes. You are not your past. You are not your productivity. You are not your job. You are not your personality. You are not even your body. You are a soul here having a human experience. And that soul, that essence, is always attempting to speak to you. There is a version of you that already lives in alignment. It's your higher self, and they exist right now in this very moment within you. Not out there, they're not a fantasy, they're not a someday. She or he is already here, trusting their intuition. They don't abandon themselves or their beliefs. They speak with clarity and love. They know their boundaries, and they create from inspiration, not from burnout. And they certainly do not need to wait for permission to be fully expressed. You don't need to become them. You just need to remember. So I'm here to give you permission, not that you need it, but I want you to give the permission back to yourself, to allow yourself to question the voices inside your head, especially when they contradict the wisdom inside your heart. I want you to reconnect with what your soul knows is true, because you're not here to live someone else's life. You're not here to follow somebody else's path. You are here to blaze your own and to live your most authentic life, true to your soul, your heart, and your path. And today is all about remembering that you don't have to have all of the answers right now, but we are going to learn to reconnect back to that voice, even if you've forgotten how to listen to it, because it's always there, and it's always asking you to lean in, to have the courage to really hear it. It's nudging you. It's whispering to you. It's that voice that when the whole world is quiet, it stirs within you. But you have to have the courage to really honor it in a world that praises you for silencing it. So I'm asking you today to be radical, to trust yourself instead of everybody else. And I promise you that you will find your inner bliss. So before we go any further and we start doing a bit of a life audit, what I do want you to do is grab a journal, or you can use the notes on your phone. If you're driving, feel free to do this, but please do this safely. You're welcome to pause after each of the questions that I'm going to pose and really think about it for yourself. Alternatively, just wait until you get home or you have more space, time, and capacity. And I hope that they will help you to shift something internally. And even if you are already living quite in alignment with yourself, I hope that these will help to really steer that point of your compass true north as much as possible to help you continue along that journey. And if not, if you feel like your compass is just completely haywire, then hopefully this will help you to get back on track as well. I'm a seed planter, so I really want you to just have a little think. There's no judgment here. These are just some questions that came through when I was meditating earlier, and I just want you to ponder on them and potentially see if it shifts your perspective in any way. Are we ready? Okay, let's go. What if your exhaustion isn't laziness, but misalignment? What if your desires are not selfish, but they're sacred? What if you didn't need to do more to be worthy of rest, softness, and joy? What if the life you dream of is already available to you if you would only stop abandoning your own truth? These are big ones and they definitely hit home for me. Okay, now it is time for those juicy questions. I want you to dive deep. I want you to be radically honest with yourself. Because as we know, if you really want to live your bliss, you have to be honest with yourself. You cannot keep lying to yourself. And as they always say, nothing changes if nothing changes. So this is your moment to really deeply hear your inner voice and stop silencing it. Call yourself out on your actions, inaction, or reactions, and lovingly thank yourself, your ego, and all those parts of yourself that previously held you together with these belief systems that you were given, not actually chose, and let them go. Because now it is time for you to hear what your soul really has to say, and it's time for you to step into that truth. Okay? Where in your life are you showing up in a way that does not feel true to who you really are? What areas of your life feel heavy, draining, or disconnected from your heart? In what moments do you feel most like yourself, free, whole, at peace? What truths have you been avoiding because they might disrupt the version of you that others expect? Where are you seeking approval at the expense of your authenticity? If you really heard what your soul's voice was saying to you right now, what is it asking you to stop doing? And what would that voice gently ask you to start choosing instead? Let those land. Let those settle. You don't have to have all the answers right now. You don't have to figure them all out right now, but they are worth answering, honestly. They're worth coming back to at a different time if this feels too big for you. It is very stretchy for some, and that is okay, because oftentimes we are living so out of alignment with ourselves that it is so difficult to acknowledge the amount of abandonment that we have allowed to occur. Alrighty, my loves, time for pivot points. Now, pivot points is a segment that I hope will be able to continue through most of our solo episodes. And this is a little nug from my brain, a little nugget. And basically what it is I want to show you guys that you always have a choice. I am somebody in my human design that is supposed to encourage paths of consciousness. And so one way that I want to do that is to show you that you always have choices, right? And there may be 2 choices, there may be multiple choices. You get to choose, and you can choose whatever it is that you want to choose. What I really want through this segment is to show you that you have the option of saying yes to something that you don't want over and over, which is often what's happening, or you can take a step off the merry-go-round and you can choose differently. So today's pivot point is this. Would you rather stay stuck, living on autopilot, continuing to make the same choices, abandoning your truth and waiting for the right time to change or for the right circumstances to come along so that you can create whatever it is that you're intending to create in the world? Or would you rather show up as your most fully expressed, authentic self in full integrity with radical honesty and communicate that version of yourself into the world, living for you and not for everybody else? The choice is yours. You can go round on the merry-go-round again, or you can get off and choose differently. It's up to you. And now I'm going to leave you with a whisper from within. Where in your life are you pretending not to know what changes need to be made in order for you to truly live your bliss? Whew. It's a big one. There's no judgment, my loves. I am here if you need me. Remember, you don't necessarily have to act straight away, but you do need to listen. I will see you next week. Take care. Mwah. Thank you for listening, beautiful soul. If you felt something shift, please reflect on it, share it, and let it ripple out into the world. If something spoke to your heart space today, I would love if you could share it with someone that you love and leave us a review, which will really help more of our soul fam to find their way here. If you want to connect with me, if you have questions, topics, if you want to know more about my courses, or if you even just want to say hi, please reach out. I would love to hear from you. Come find me over on Instagram at Lyssn Podcast. That's LYSSN Podcast. Or you can message me directly at Lyssn Natalie. My DMs are always open. Until next time, stay soft, stay true, keep living your bliss, and remember, your soul's song is always worth remembering. So keep listening.